Hello everyone, welcome back to another SwansCast match preview, and I'm delighted this week to be joined by Kieran from the Blue Focus podcast, recent winners in the Football Content Awards, so congratulations to all of you involved in Blue Focus. Anything you want to say about that, and where can we find your award-winning content as well?
You can find us on most platforms now, so Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all at Blues Focus. And we'll be there cheering on the boys.
Are you going to be talking about this match afterwards if anybody wants to come and hear your views on whatever the result is?
Yeah, so I've got a live stream on Sunday at 8:30 where we'll be doing a live chat with getting some of the fans on, talking about how Tony Mowbray's first game's gone and anything else Blues related, if anybody wants to find us there.
Yeah, so go check that out, and obviously maybe you can sneak in a question of how they thought the Swans played after the fact. Obviously, we are here to talk about it before that match has happened. So 3 o'clock kickoff on the 13th of January. I'm actually heading up to this one, so first away day for me of the year. So I'm looking forward to it. And I want to ask, just in advance, because we've been trying to kind of plan our day, if you like. Is there anywhere the away fans normally head to before a match at Birmingham? Because I saw there wasn't really that many pubs knocking about.
The only real pubs around us are Birmingham City pubs. So not really. There's a bar and stuff inside the stadium. There's a McDonald's down the bottom of the road. That's about as much as we get. Town will be full of Birmingham City fans.
A couple of cans and a Big Mac it is then.
That's the one. Quality day out.
That's all good. I'm sure we'll find somewhere to go. But yeah, looking forward to it. So I've been to Birmingham before. I went when Graham Potter was boss, and it was a very, very not good spectacle, let's just say. 0-0, I believe it ended. But some of the players that played in that game might play in this game before other teams. So one of those is Christian Pedersen. But I'm sure we'll get on to some of that a bit later on. But I just want to ask, first of all, let's start in chronological order. We've obviously played each other this season, first game of the season, and I think both clubs were kind of in a very different situation back then. New manager for us, John Eustace, was kind of starting what was a successful period while he was here this season, and ended for him sitting in the playoffs when he got sacked, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, what happened? What is the situation? What's gone down for anyone that is unaware? Because you've obviously gone through another manager since then, for this to be the third manager of your season's first game in charge. Yeah. So just what's the lowdown on the whole situation there?
So we were playing okay football under John Eustace, but not what our new owners wanted. So we got new owners 7 months ago now, finally taking over the drivel that we've had for the last 10 years. They're coming in, making lots of positive changes in the club, finally finishing the stands, which is lovely to see the stadium back open rather than half open like it has been for the last 3.5 years. And they wanted more on the front football. They're Americans. They're all about excitement and getting off your seat. And John Eustace was a very defensive, stable at the back, and then progress forward through counter-attacking. That's not what they wanted. We averaged 33% possession, but he was getting results. And we just beat West Brom and convincingly, which are one of our rivals. And then they sacked him, which shocked, I would say, probably 90% of our fan base.
Well, it's shocked, I think, everyone across the Championship.
Yeah.
Absolute madness.
People that want him out. There is with every manager. But
yeah,
he was getting results. We were sitting in the playoffs. Yeah, it was very early doors. I'll say that. Yeah, people make it out like we're towards the end of the season and we sacked him in the playoffs. But very early doors. But it was looking promising, and the team were really gelling, and it was really nice, good-looking football. And they wanted a name that's big in America and big in football. So somehow they come to picking Wayne Rooney as that person. And football just went out the window. I have seen some terrible football being a Birmingham City fan.
So they've gone from sacking John Eustace, who played this counter-attacking defensive style, to hiring Rooney, who I don't actually know what his style is, but it's not attacking and good to watch, is it, really?
No, so he's meant to have come in and they branded it no fear football. And they're right. There was nobody fearing playing us. There was no structure. The defenders were halfway up the field most of the time, and we conceded, I think, probably 7 of the almost exact same goal, which would be they'd win it in midfield and just bang it over where our left or right back should be. But because the way he played was he wanted to win the ball high up, but he sacrificed conceding goals for scoring goals. He had an average of conceding 2 goals and only scoring 1 in every game. So we got hammered a few times. And the players just lost it. Nobody really knew what they were doing. And I watched the Leeds game. Hands down, probably the worst game of football I've ever seen from one side. Leeds just looked like they were training, and we just looked like every time we got it, we just kicked it in a direction of whatever we were facing. Doesn't matter whether it was out or to a player, it was just kicked, and that's about it. And rightly got sung off, and now we're onto the new start, which they promised they've put in a little bit of homework, and they took a little bit of time to deliberate over who was coming in.
How long was the time between? Because we know all about that.
Yeah, it sounds long, but it was about 5 to 7 days, right?
Ours was 30.
Yeah.
Madness.
But the Americans were very much proactive in that time, from what we understand. They had kind of been putting things in place beforehand, maybe lining some up, putting some ideas out there and feeling out other people. And they interviewed a fair few people, and they said that Tony Mowbray was a standout candidate.
Yeah, and I think he obviously did quite a good job in his previous job at Sunderland. So
yeah, maybe
I guess I have to talk to a Sunderland fan to say how that went down. But they were doing quite well at the time he got sacked. I think they had a little bit of a blip, but they're still fighting at the top end of the table now since. But they were there or thereabouts at the time. So similar in terms of sackings, where your teams both sat in the league. I think maybe just was the right time for them. But again, I don't think his time at Sunderland was bad. So in theory, it's a good appointment for Birmingham.
I mean, when Wayne Rooney,
go on, sorry. No,
sorry. From what we understand from their fans, 80% of their people are gutted he's gone. His biggest issue was arguing with his board because they didn't back him with players. And
they had an issue with striker all season last season, didn't they? Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me.
So I think it was a little bit between. I don't think it was really results driven. He was fed up. I know that from not having support, and he was playing a lot of youth. So he just felt unsupported from them, and I think a couple of things added up to him leaving. And there's no previous Tony Mowbray club that don't like him. The fans love him, clubs love him, and various things have led him to be where he is. He's a very steady set of hands in the Championship, 42% win rate as a manager throughout his whole career. So if he can start bringing some of that to Birmingham, I'd love that starting Saturday. I
do hope that it doesn't start this week, but we'll see how that goes. And when Wayne Rooney actually got sacked, I told you it took us a bit longer to hire a manager, 31 days. I can't remember the exact day when he got announced what it was, because he was kind of in the day before it was announced. We were kind of panicking with the American owner link, as you mentioned. We thought maybe ours would have a bright idea and kind of bring him here instead, because he actually managed DC United, who our owner also owns. And we were like, yeah, let's not think that's a good idea. Luckily, our chairman, who's kind of on the ground this year, new thing for Swansea in the last year, something they've tried to do better is bring someone in that runs it at Swansea rather than from America. And luckily, there was a lot of criticism for the length of time that it took to get a manager in, but it seems like a lot of the fan base is on board with who they have brought in. So for us, Luke Williams also heads into this game, has his first league game in charge. He he did technically lead the team for the Morecambe FA Cup game, but he was announced the day before, so do you really count that as his impact? I'm not really sure you can. So it'll be interesting to see this game. And this is a preview video. It's probably difficult for both of us to do. And when I go into your channel after this, and we'll record in as well. Because when you're talking about style of play and what to expect the lineup to be, who are going to be the key players and stuff, like, well, your guess is as good as mine, isn't it, really? You can make the assumptions based on, the key players that have been there for long probably will fit in and do well again, but things could always change under a new manager. So it's interesting, I think, from both parties. Okay, so moving on, I just want to talk, I know you talked about what's happened at the club, but you did have a decent start of the season, whatever style of football you were playing under John Eustace, but Wayne Rooney kind of plummeted Birmingham down the league table to where you're now sitting in just above relegation
20th.
zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 20th, 28 points. I say just above the relegation zone. It's only 2 positions, but the points is a bit more of a gap. 6 points. There's a little bit of a cushion there. Swansea sitting in 16th position on 32, so there's a 4-point gap between both of us, and we've until recent weeks kind of also been in that area where you were sitting. We've kind of picked up a little bit since. I saw you've only had 1 win in your last 10 games. That includes the FA Cup game, which you drew against Hull, which I guess is a good result, really, a draw away at Hull. But
yeah, I mean, we'll take it. If you had said to anybody before that game, going in with our under-21s as manager, as the step-in manager, that we'll take a draw and then come back with a manager playing a replay, I think we'd have all took it. Everybody kind of wanted Mowbray in, or someone in, before that game, just to give it as a cannon fodder game. Go out, you can see your players actually act into your system and see what happened. But we got it after, and
we'll be the cannon fodder instead.
Yeah, you'll get hopefully playing off the park because the players have all turned up to show them what they can do.
And normally I'd be a little bit worried about new manager bounce and what you're saying being true. They want to make an impression for the new manager, and I'm sure that will be the case. But I guess it's just unique because we're also going to have the same thing. So it's hard. Like normally I'd be, oh crap, we're going to Birmingham and it's a new manager there. It's going to be a tough one, and it probably still will be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy at all, but we're expecting the same sort of bounce. So it's very hard to kind of judge how this is going to go. And the other thing I wanted to pick off about your run is the 1 win you had was against Cardiff. I needed to put that in there because that's an important one to mention, especially for the Swansea channel. So yeah.
The one thing I would say is the double new manager bounce is quite exciting. It could lead to quite a fierce game. And I know you're bringing about 2,000 fans, right?
Yeah, it was announced today they've sold the allocation out. So it's, I believe, 2,000. I think they released a couple more tickets earlier in the week, but I think the cap is 2,000, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to have quite a raucous crowd, I think, as well. There's a lot of people that got excited of the club at the beginning of the season and then kind of killed all momentum. We had the new owners. We had playing in the right direction. We were getting wins and going up the table, and it was like, oh, we had a lot of buzz, good buzz around Birmingham for the first time in about 10 years. So that was all exciting. And then we had Wayne Rooney just come in and put the nuclear clear out fallout button on that. But I think with this appointment of Tony Mowbray, the fans are going to be right behind him and show what we can do.
Okay, so I know it's difficult to talk about, as I've already mentioned, but can you kind of tell us anything you do expect to see from the team? Maybe what players you expect might be able to make an impact in this game from a Birmingham perspective then?
Yeah, for us, defence has been unstable. Let's put it that way. At the very beginning, we had one of the best defences in the league. Under Rooney, defence fell apart. So what we're going to get from that, I really couldn't tell you. Defence is either on form or just kind of making it up as they go along. So I think that was down to the tactics and the manager at the time. Danger for us is Jay Stansfield, scored 7 goals this season, a natural finisher. will run off the back of any players. That's why we're hoping Christian Pedersen's playing, because
I don't think he's going to start, to be honest.
He's fundamentally flawed if you've got anybody that wants to take him on. But great also on his day, if he's match turned on, he can be great. But and then Siriki Dembele, it'd probably be our other one that's very tricky, skillful little player. Scored 5 goals as well, so he's capable of putting it in the net. And then we've got a very similar player, I think, in midfield between Cullen for you and JJ, Jordan James for us. They play, I think, from what I know about Cullen, they can play either defensive and sit off, but then nice and attack for playing out balls, or they can sit slightly further forward and dictate the game from a front foot. So depends on how that battle in the midfield is going to go. I think that's going to be quite a duel in the midfield with your midfield and ours. So I think that's where the game is to be won or lost for the.
Yeah, if Cullen's playing, he probably will play either. He's more of a forward, so striker. He's been operating on the wide flanks a lot this season. Maybe I haven't got the best out of him, but he scored in the last couple of games. So whether he comes in, I'm not sure. In the midfield, Grimes is probably the one that's going to be dictating the play, especially under Luke Williams now, because under Russell Martin, the previous manager, before Michael Duff, he was the main man. Everything went through him, and Luke Williams as a manager being brought in to kind of go back to that style of football. So I'd imagine Matt Grimes is going to be the one that is making everything tick. Whether that he usually is our main man anyway, but whether he's got the impact he might have in a few games' time, come this week, we'll see. But he'd probably be the one that your guys need to really try and stop, I would imagine, to stop us playing.
And what formation are you guys playing?
So that's the tricky one. I'm fully expecting a switch to a 5 at the back. We've been playing 4 at the back. Start the season 5 at the back. Russell Martin used to play 5 at the back last season. Didn't quite work out for Michael Duff. He switched to a 4 and got a bit more success. That's continued through the caretaker manager's time, the last month or so. But I know Luke Williams at Notts County was very successful with the 5. You know, he was Russell Martin's assistant with the 5. And he wants to play that sort of same football with a little bit more end product. We kind of recruited for a 5 in the summer, so I'm really expecting to go back to that. Yeah. I just can't guarantee it. The Morecambe game we had a 4, but by all accounts, Luke Williams didn't pick the team.
Yeah.
So I don't know, to be honest, but I think he's going to go for a 5 at the back. I would say an informed decision would be that. It just depends if he thinks whatever he needs to change to go there, maybe if he's had enough time to do that, I'd imagine, or if he wants to keep it stable and start that way first. Guess that's a decision he needs to make. But
that's the fundamental thing with a new manager, isn't it? It's, do I go in and make nucleus changes and do what I want to do and they'll play my football, or do you work with what you got and then slowly change it? Yeah. We're fully expecting 4-2-3-1. That's what we have played several times this season, both under Eustace and Rooney. Both one front foot, one back foot. Mowbray wants to play front foot football as well, but I also think he's going to be a lot more solid in defence. And we've also had Ashley Cole and John O'Shea working with the defence a little bit more in this time that they've had a bit of time off to focus, hopefully, defending properly. That'd be nice. And Mowbray likes a fast between the lines build up from previous clubs that he's managed, and set pieces are something where he likes to target. But like he's had a couple of training sessions, I think 2 or 3 training sessions, so I don't think that's going to really come into play just yet. So this is the fun bit about this game, is it's quite hard for either of us to work out what on earth's going on.
And the best reference I can give you for, and this is really not something I want to say as a Swansea fan, it's not good news for us, but Sunderland played Southampton earlier this season. Now, Southampton I'm referencing because of Russell Martin. So if that's the style of football that we are aiming for again, that resulted in a 5-0 win for Sunderland at home. So under Tony Mowbray at the time. So that's not good news. But let's hope neither manager's had enough impact for a repeat of that. So for our sake, not for your sake, you probably want that to happen, of course. But
I'll absolutely take a 5-0 win. I'll take a 1-0 win. Quite honestly, I'll probably take a draw, just to not lose. 3 losses.
Probably not a bad result for either team, though, a draw.
Yeah, 3 losses and 2 draws in our last 5. Just at least a draw. I'd be hopeful for, but it's one of those. I mean, you had a big loss to Southampton, didn't you? Not too long ago. So hopefully, that was 5, wasn't it?
That was yeah. But there's a bit more like, there's context there that's very club specific because of Russell Martin's the way he left the club and the relationship he had with our ownership, and because that's ultimately what is the reason he's not here anymore. And I think you could say point to prove and all this sort of stuff. Like, there's more there than just the result and the football players. And if you do look at our results for the last few games, it is a bit of a standout negative.
Yeah.
Not saying that it wasn't deserved, of course, but I'm hoping that it's an anomaly and it stays that way for a reason. So Alan Sheehan, the caretaker manager during that period, and who was that came as well, really did well to sort of get us some points ticking over during what was the time we were looking for a manager, and kind of got a season that was a bit derailed, a little bit back on track. Yeah. So I'm hoping we can push on. I just want to ask as well, you mentioned some of the players. Ethan Laird, is he still injured? Because I know he's started the season flying. I don't believe I've seen too much of him recently.
He is still injured. He's back training, as far as we're aware. But we also believe there may have been a few players feigning extended injuries because they didn't want to play through Rooney Ball. So it's interesting to find out if and who and what become available to us. We are in the dark just as much as oppositions at the moment. Tony Mowbray hasn't really. I haven't managed to watch he did a 26-minute interview today.
Oh, nice.
Going into depth about a lot of things. You and I both finished work and come straight on here. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I haven't had the time to watch all of that. I've seen little bits of it.
Sense.
But I'd hope so. That guy is insane. But we've also got Lee Buchanan, who is.
I believe we were linked with him in the summer, and he went to you guys, didn't he? So
he has been a standout defender every game. He's everywhere, and he's picking up for. We've had Iwo making a few mistakes, and it just seems that Buchanan just manages to get there somehow. He's only small. You look at defenders and you don't think he works, but he really does, and he's been able to really put some shifts in. So he's been stepping in instead of Laird. But I think there'll be a competition, honestly, if Laird comes back. I don't think he walks into our team. I think it'll be a good little fight between them. But they can both play on both sides. So, that'll also be interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, Ethan Laird did a loan spell at Swansea a few seasons back, so we obviously have a bit of interest there. And if he does play, I guess he'd want to put in a good performance. And I know you mentioned as well Jordan James. I saw there were some links around potential moves. Is anything there from a Welsh fan perspective?
So potentially being linked out. Tony Mowbray did say this. This is one thing I have said from his thing. He is not letting go of any of our players unless they come and knock on his door and specifically ask for a move. He said he is not here to give away everything that the club is building. If we want to build, we need foundations, and they can work around the youth. He's a huge build through the youth and build the youth to sell on eventually, but to get the best out of them whilst they are. As you know, Jordan James has come out of nowhere, really. He's had a bit of a few nothing seasons as such. And then
got a habit to that with midfielders, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, he was tipped as the next Jude Bellingham. He's not. He's not.
It's a shame because Bale's retired from Wales. We need a new person to stand up and be like, I'm the man. So there's a new the next Bellingham. Bellingham, we would take that all day long.
He could be the Welsh version of the Bellingham, I guess. But I think Jude is stratospheres ahead. He was from a young age. I watched him at 15, and you just watch him and go, this guy's going to be something.
The amount that he's kicked on at Real Madrid this season is insane.
It's unreal. But Jordan James isn't quite that, but he's really stepped up his game this last 12 months, and he's now gone from playing a little bit more CDM. I think Wales were playing him slightly higher, and then they saw what they were getting out of him, and then Wayne Rooney actually took that initiative to say, we'll play you slightly further forward. So if there's one thing he did correct, and it probably is only one thing, it's putting him forward, because he scored 5 goals. And goal scoring isn't something that Jordan James has done, but the play he has, his brain works, but his skill hasn't quite been there, where this season it looks like they're starting to match up now. So
good news for Wales, maybe not the best news for Swansea on the weekend, but we'll see how he plays, I guess. Okay, last kind of to send it off here, I want to flip the question, and you mentioned some names, but is there anyone in the Swansea squad specifically that you're a bit worried about?
Yates, obviously, he's your top goal scorer with, I think he's on 6, isn't he? 1 behind Stansfield.
6 in the Championship, yeah.
Yeah, and fundamentally, we've conceded 12 goals in 4 games. The last 5 games we've conceded 12 goals, one of them a 0-0 draw. So that would be the area that I'd be worried about, is if your striker that's in form starts wanting to score more goals, there's a potential there. So he'd be the one I would be looking out for you guys. And
so he's found himself out to the team, but came in to start against Morecambe, kind of scored, made a bit of a I'm still here sort of statement, I guess. And as a new manager, who's saying he's happy with what he's hearing about what's expected of him, and his play style can suit him better. So we know he's been having a bit of criticism and frustration of the fans the last few matches and the last few weeks. One of them players that's got a point to prove under a new manager. So hopefully we get that out of him, but we'll see.
We are the perfect club to play for him, because what's his name? Patrick Bamford hadn't scored in nearly 2 years. Scored against us because he would. We're that club. And then he scored that absolute worldie in his next game.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. That was insane.
So
in the FA Cup, wasn't it, on the weekend?
Yeah, that he just turned and did that volley, and that was the next game. And he hadn't scored in nearly 2 years as a striker. So Birmingham City have a habit of being that person if you haven't scored in a long time, or if you need to prove a point. Joe Bellingham was a thing as well. Obviously, when we played Sunderland, he was always going to come back and score against us, because he left us to go to Sunderland.
Yeah,
to play for Mowbray, and then ended up scoring against us because he got a bit of abuse from the fans when he left, which I thought was out of order, because the Bellingham family have done a lot for us. But he was always going to score. We are that club, so double worried about him now. Let's put it that way.
Well, I hope Yates can kind of show why we brought him in the summer and start to kick on. And, that sounds good. So hopefully that will happen. Right, let's end it then. And I've got one question I'd like to ask at the end that's not football related. But when you do go to any football stadium, home or away, what is the best footy scran that you've ever eaten?
Oh, now it's hard because Birmingham do good food.
In the stadium?
It's around the stadium.
Is there stuff outside? Is that
terrible? Yeah, but they always put. We have street food all around the stadium.
Okay, now I've changed my question. Let me know what's there, because I need to decide if I need to hold off eating till I get to the ground.
So we have a lot of members of the Digbeth Dining Club, which is like a huge food section in Birmingham, and they alternate around the ground as to what's there. Fat Snags. That's Snags, SN. That's a really good one. Quite like that. The food all around is good. It's all street food, but very, very good. Outside the ground. Inside the ground is what's left to be desired, both for home and away fans. But that's hopefully changing soon. But definitely, if you're out and around the ground, go and have a look at the stalls. They'll be literally on the surround of the stadium. I couldn't tell you what's going to be there because it changes every game.
That's good. We've had a bit of a topic recently on our podcast about how Swansea can improve that sort of match day experience and offering with hospitality and food and drink, and they really don't do a very good job at the moment. As much as they try and introduce things like ordering on a screen, but
yeah,
I don't know why they don't do that with the food stuff outside. A lot of clubs seem to be going that direction, and it just seems like a really no-brainer. Really, you want your fans come in not just for the game; they're there a bit longer, and then some of them might go in and have a drink inside, or you can have your own bars set up and stuff like that. It just makes more sense, isn't it, to try and get more money out of your fans, but you doing something good for them, which they're paying for and they're happy to pay for.
But then those food outlets then rent their space. So
yeah, exactly. So it's but we'll see.
Away though, Hull City.
I've had Hull before. I've heard that answer before. That Hull have got a good selection.
I'd probably say Hull are a good food. Probably the best I've been. Bolton was terrible, but we always go there and get good games. So the food is the least of our worries.
So if anyone's going up to Hull Bay next time that fixture's on, make sure you eat at the ground. Good reviews there. What did you have? Do you remember what you had?
I had curry and chips.
But in the ground, like, you don't expect that, do you?
Yeah. No, it wasn't curry sauce. Like you'd expect curry sauce on chips at some places, but it was really nice. It was really good. So it was like curry and rice and chips all in one thing. It was really good, really good.
And that's a proper good. Gotta love a curry and chips. I know when we go to West Brom, we always go to a local pub called The Vine, and they do a good curry and chips up there. So, but I don't know if you've been there. Obviously, local and rivals and stuff. But yeah,
tend not to if I can.
Fair enough. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me, Kieran. Do you want to remind everyone where they can find your content?
Yeah, so we are at Blues Focus on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
And if you are still here, we're going to be doing the reverse in a sec, so that will be live. Maybe when you're watching, we'll see. Just go and check the channel and see if it's there. But there'll be a preview the other way around that we're going to go and record now. So thank you very much for watching, as always, and I shall see you in the next video.